the winningest sports city this century. Each championship deriving from a plan. Join us as we discuss the next Boston Banner Blueprint with your hosts, Josh Finkel, Nick Walsh, and Nate Philbrook.
What's up, everybody, and welcome into another episode of the Boston Banner Blueprint podcast. It's your host, Nate, and Nick is here with me. It is a two-man crew tonight. So before I throw it to you, Nick, as we kick off this Boston Red Sox episode, and a topic that you and I know quite a lot about and tend to talk way too much about, but hey, that's why we started this podcast. Of course, I want to let everybody know exactly where to find us, and that starts on Twitter/X at Boston Banner BP. Boston Banner Blueprint on both Facebook and Instagram. And look at that, we are on TikTok at Boston.banner.BLU. I think I got that right. Not a TikTok wizard yet.
I was going to say, I might be the last one out there to not have a TikTok. Like, I see all the TikToks like 2-3 weeks later on Instagram. So I still see them, but I'm like a month behind everyone else. So that's a PT thing. That's a think thing in terms of that's their brainchild. Trust them with it. Go nuts.
Go nuts. And we're going to grow that platform. So go like, subscribe, follow, rate 5 stars, share with your friends and family. And of course, you can listen to every episode on Spotify, Apple, and watch our videos on YouTube. So Nick, it's been a little bit since our last episode was also a Sox podcast with Gordo, which was a great episode. If you didn't listen to that, go ahead and listen to that season preview. But there's been, we're a little over a week in now as we're recording this on Thursday night. We're getting ready for the Sox home opener tomorrow at Fenway. But there's been a good amount of news for us to cover. So let's kick it to you. How you feeling as we open the season?
So the original plan was we were going to record Monday night, and not to throw you under the bus or anything, but we had some technical difficulties. Yeah. So we were all ready to go. Everyone was up and loaded, getting ready to talk about the Sox starting off 1-3 and not looking great. We're going to bash the hell out of Raffy. At the time, I think it was like 0 for 12 with 10 strikeouts. Ended up going to 0-19 with 15 strikeouts before getting out of the slump. And then you just went offline. We couldn't record, which might have been a blessing in disguise because they did end up dropping one more game after that. But we got the big news that we all been wanting in the Campbell and Crochet extension. 6 years, 170. There is an opt-out after 4 years, but Sox got a injury get out of jail free card basically. And there basically, if he misses 120 consecutive days, that last year is a buyout, and they get it like for $15 million or something. I forgot the parameters of it specifically, but they secured themselves in if Crochet has another Tommy John surgery or a major injuries, they're covered there. They locked up Campbell, which, to be honest with you, as a fan, you gotta love. If you're the front office, you gotta love. But if you're Christian Campbell in 3 or 4 years, you're gonna freaking hate it. Agent's gonna be out of a job because he's gonna get his ass fired.
We're going to break that down a little bit more as we
I know I'm getting ahead of myself. And on top of that, Craig Breslow probably would have, with those two moves, kind of pushed the Wolves away from the door come tomorrow or today when our listeners are listening to this for the home opener, would have stifled the Boo Birds a little bit. But these back-to-back wins the last 2 days, you're coming home to a happy fan base. You're going to get the cheers, even though you're below 500. But could you imagine if those 2 extensions didn't get done and they came back 1-6? Like, they were facing that pretty realistically.
Well, you know what an amazing thing about that is we don't have to imagine it, because that's not the reality that we're living in. So, but yeah, you're exactly right. Not to go back too far, but I do owe everybody an apology, as internet was just not cooperating on Monday night. Lo and behold, construction in the area had cut the fiber optic cable, so yeah, nobody was getting online that night. But we're here now. We're recording, and then just to kind of give everybody what the blueprint is going to be as we enter into kind of a busier season than what our listeners are used to, is we're recording Sox tonight, which is of course Thursday, coming out Friday. But going forward, we're going to have a rotating schedule early in the week, and then Thursdays we are going to release a Patriot specific episode with mock drafts and grades and such as we get into full blown NFL draft talk. So that's something exciting to kind of keep in the back of your mind as you're preparing your listening habits for the Boston Banner Blueprint. But getting back to the topic, so I originally asked you how you're feeling. I don't think you answered that question, but I'll answer my own question first. Of course, they're coming to Boston, coming off 2 consecutive really show out games. On what was it, Wednesday night? Crochet, or Wednesday afternoon, really. Crochet just absolutely stuck it to the Orioles in Baltimore with 8 shutty there, and looked every bit of the war pig or ace that we traded for. And so you got to feel good after that game. Christian Campbell continues to do his thing, and then the bats absolutely woke up on Thursday afternoon against Charlie Morton. Charlie Morton's been in the AL East, I think, since we were in diapers. So he's a guy that has not always been a friendly face on the mound facing the Red Sox. So all that to say, feeling pretty good ahead of the home opener. And that's not even about the extensions that we're going to get into a little bit, but the general vibes of the team. Media wasn't too happy coming out of Texas early in the season, but I mean, my goodness, has the levity just awoken. The bats are awake. The Cassis opposite field home run on off a lefty, nonetheless. Today, I mean, things are certainly looking up to be Red Sox fans.
And can I pose a question to you in regards to Crochet? Because it's going to sound ridiculous. It's going to sound ridiculous the moment I ask it, but when you really think about it, it's not that ridiculous. Was Wednesday night's start for Crochet the biggest start of his career?
Considering the situation he was coming from, without a doubt.
Yeah, like I thought that the other night, where it's like, this could be the biggest start of his career, which sounds stupid. Second start of the year, and it wasn't technically April. It was April 1st. So
yeah,
you always hear you can't win the division or win the pennant in April, but you sure as hell can lose it. And this is why you have an ace. This is why you pay the big bucks for a top of the line starter, because during the season, you're going to have road bumps. You're going to have some losing streaks. No one wants it early on in the year. Like, no one wants to lose 4 in a row at any point, but you do it at the end of March, early April, and everyone's tuning in because it's a brand new season. If it was middle of July, no one's going to care about a 4-game losing streak. But you need someone to stop the bleeding. And that's what Crochet did. 8 innings, which he's never done before. I love that Cora kind of pushed the envelope to bring him out for that 8th inning. You didn't have Whitlock available. He went 2 innings the day before. And you try to bridge that gap. And Lou Maloney said on the broadcast, your ace doesn't just affect the confidence for that day. It affects him the day before, affects the team the day before and the day after, because the day before and the day after, you can get more aggressive with your bullpen. You can manage around pitching woes. If the start before or after, you can go Whitlock 2 innings like they did, because more likely than not, the guy coming up the next day isn't going to need that much of a bullpen help if things are going right. And that's exactly what Crochet did, and showing that he's worth every cent of that money.
Yeah, you need that true stopper, right? The guy that's going to see the slide of the team and then be able to go out and just absolutely shove. And we saw this from Crochet, or we heard this from Crochet rather, is he wanted an extension so that he could go out free from fears of injury or anything like that, and empty the tank. And I think this is just the beginning of that. Now, granted, I don't want him to be emptying the tank in April, because this is a guy that we hope to be pitching deep into September and October. But all that aside, we started to see that. So Cora made the absolute right call, in my opinion. He had retired 12 in a row going into the 8th. He was still he still finished with 8 complete innings and under 100 pitches. So it's not like he was running up 110, 100. Okay, so
he was at
102. Yeah. He was at he was at like 89 going into the 8th, something like that. But
the only reason I knew that was because they had the graphic that his career high was 103, and with there only being 1 out in the 8th, I was like, oh, he's going to get a new career high, and boom, double play, inning over. And it's like, well, shit, there goes that thought.
Yeah, and so, but to that point, like, we don't need him to be that dominant every time out. But if you look at his 2 starts combined, he was uber efficient in this most recent one, and his first one, he certainly sprayed the ball a little bit. I'm sure he's probably nervous. To your point, like, he played on the worst team in MLB history last year, so every start for the first little bit is going to feel like the biggest start of his career. And so, this is the guy that you traded for. This is the guy that you gave up those assets for. And, revisionist history, you can go back and look at this offseason as a massive success now. That was the cherry on top that was missing from this offseason. Yeah, it came a week into the season, if that. But, I mean, my goodness, this is a guy that you can go out, you can buy the jersey and feel confident that 5 years from now, you're going to be able to continue to root for Garrett Crochet, which is an amazing feeling as a Red Sox fan.
Which you say buy the jersey. I was all ready to buy the brand new green jerseys of Crochet after that extension, and then they got leaked, and it's like, yeah, well, I guess I'm saving some money, which like, if anyone's seen them already, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't,
they're just
not that it's not that I don't hate them. Like, they're a decent jersey, but it's like, I was expecting.
So you said you don't hate them. So does that mean you you said it's not that you don't hate them. So does that mean you do hate them?
Sorry, English teacher over here. Like you said, it's kind of like blah. Like, they're kind of like, I'm not gonna look at it and be like, oh, those are god awful, ugly ass jerseys. Like, I look at the blue on blue Patriots jerseys, but they're also. I was like, when we all heard earlier in the winter that they were going to get green jerseys, our minds immediately popped to the old St. Patty's Day jerseys, like
100%.
And if they would have brought those ones back, I think everyone would have, at least the vast majority of people, overwhelmingly enjoyed those ones. And I get what they were trying to do with these ones. Like, it's the same, like, font, the same, like, fade of green as the monster. It's the same font with Red Sox across as the scoreboard. Like, they're paying homage to the Green Monster. I like the concept. I hate the execution.
Well, and you listened to Sam Kennedy's comments from just a couple of weeks ago. You kind of thought that they were going to be taking a little bit more risks with these jerseys, based off of those comments, that he's like, they're going to be controversial. And it's like, other than the fact that they are green jerseys for a team called the Red Sox, like, what is controversial about these jerseys?
Right. And after the vast, I don't want to say popularity, but because they were polarizing at the time, but people have grown to love them. You got the yellow and blue jerseys. Like, that was controversial. Like that
100%.
was putting out that was putting out risk, but they became popular because everyone understood the meaning behind it, and they are a sharp looking jersey. Like I wasn't looking for like something flamboyant again, like, but yeah, they were just kind of like too basic. And the comparison I'd put it to is a couple years ago with the Celtics alternate jerseys, where they tried to mimic what the championship banners look like. Like you understood the concept, you understood what the idea was, but when you actually get to see it, it's like,
Yeah.
like it could have been more. It could have been worse. I know Fink. I know Finkin, who's not on tonight in our group chat, said could have been a lot worse, and he's right. But the
you look at some of the alternate jerseys that come out of minor league baseball, like, oh, they could have been way worse.
Yeah.
But they could have been a lot better.
Yeah.
Like they're just indifferent.
Right. And who knows, maybe a couple months from now they've grown on me, and maybe I take this back when you get to actually see them on the field. We've just seen some leaked photos on Twitter. So I'm not ruling that out, that they could grow on me. Like, are they going to be wearing the standard black hat, red B with it? Are they wearing a green hat with it? Like, is it white pants? Is it green pants? Like, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, but just no.
Okay.
God, I hope not. I can tell you got red, white, and blue as a banner behind you.
I was just curious. You said black hat with a red B, and so I didn't know if you thought
the navy blue hat, but it's so dark it looks black on TV.
Well, as a colorblind person, I had to see if we were alike in that way.
Yeah, we're not.
No, well, it was worth a shot.
It was.
But anyway, so moving right along. So it's not been all sunshine and rainbows. We've had some major stories come out of the season thus far. You kind of hinted to it earlier. Our supposed superstar, Rafael Devers, has had a little bit of a rough start to the season. So why don't you break that down for us?
So I was coming in all boiled up, ready to let loose Monday night at Devers. It's kind of tempered back a bit because he got 2 hits last night, double, single, got another hit today. But
you hear that, Devers? You can thank Fission X for that.
I'm also not going to let him off the hook and say he doesn't deserve criticism of how he started the year, because you get to end of September and say you missed the division by 1 game or 2 games. A couple of those games in Texas where he's striking out 3 times with runners in scoring position. And I know the whole team was struggling with runners in scoring position, but this is your $330 million man. This is your supposed best hitter and the anchor of your lineup. And it wasn't that he was 0 for 19. It wasn't that he was striking the strikeouts yet, but it wasn't that he went 0 for 19. Those streaks happen. Like, you go into slumps. And I agree. If it was in middle of July, no one gives a shit. First week, but why was he struggling? That's what I want to get back to. And people will say the shoulder injury, which in a vacuum is valid. Like, if you're hurt, you're hurt. But let's not pretend that the rest of the smoke and fire of spring training didn't exist. This guy didn't get reps in spring training because he was throwing a hissy fit for 3 weeks because his ego was bruised. Did the Sox handle the Bregman conversation with him perfectly? No. And I'm not going to sit here and say they did. Did Devers deserve better in terms of communication? Yes. Did he have a point to have it to be upset? Yes. But for me on that aspect, you get a day or 2 to rest your ego, to heal it up, and get to work. It's your job to be in shape. It's your job to be prepared. And I'm not a professional hitter, as Fink likes to point out that I would have gone 0 for 19 with 19 strikeouts. No shit. Like, I'm not a professional hitter. I'm not making $300 million. It's not my job. But when it is your job, the magic number, they say, is roughly around 40 at-bats in spring training for a hitter to get his timing down and be ready to go. He had 15. And you get to the regular season, he didn't get his first hit until, if you take his spring training bats in the regular season bats, until at bat number 37, where he starts to kind of start looking like himself. Like, I'm sorry. If you come into the season out of shape and not ready to go on opening day, it's unprofessional. Like, if any of us showed up to work not ready to go, we're going to get reprimanded. He deserves the same exact treatment. Like, I'm sorry, you could have given him one of the Yankees torpedo bats, and he was still going to be swinging out of his fat fucking ass. That's how bad it was.
I'm really glad there's a couple of things that I want to point out there, because we're largely in alignment. However, I think the blame is not entirely on Raffy. So first and foremost, I want to say that when he was shut down over the offseason to recover from his offseason shoulder surgery and was told no baseball activities, I don't know if he just took that as no activities and he just sat on his ass and just ate his ice cream and his bonbons all winter. But I actually heard too. So we were talking about him, and our most viral clip to date was me talking about him being out of shape and bigger than David Ortiz at any point of his career. But
and Finkel was the one who got criticism for that.
Correct, but that doesn't even tell the whole story, because that was when he was weighing in at 240, and now the media guide is saying that he's weighing in at 245, and so it's getting worse, not better. And so the thing that really struck a nerve for me, to your point, is it's professionalism. This is your job, and your job is to come to work being prepared to be a better physical specimen than another human being. This is a physical sport. And so that was one aspect. The other aspect to it was on the front office and the management of him during spring and so far this season. Is the most concerning aspect of it was his swing speed. And so his swing speed being 10 miles an hour under his previous career high. 10 miles an hour is significant when you're talking about a swing speed. He's 3 miles an hour less than he was last year when he had one arm. And so the fact that he's 10 miles an hour under, he's getting absolutely eaten alive by 92, 93 mile an hour heaters in the zone. Something just screams that he is physically not ready to be out on the major league field at this point. And so why extended spring training, why a minor league rehab stint wasn't on the table is beyond me, because it appeared to me that he just physically was not ready. And to me, that falls on Red Sox ownership and management. And so
I was going to say, I would say they deserve part of the blame, but I also think you got to weigh into consideration his ego was already bruised. Raffy's, you send him down to the minor leagues for a Yoshida-esque injury assignment. Do you risk shutting him down completely in terms of him mentally?
Yeah, but that's different. Like, he would have a clear path back to being on the major league roster and contributing every day. Yoshida's doesn't. Like, he would still be the dude to come up and hit second when he's healthy. And so that, to me, that's the big differentiating factor between the two. I hear you. It certainly wouldn't be easy, but if he's just simply not ready to go and taking what he says, how ready he says he is, out of the equation, because we know that this is a analytical run front office. Just look at the numbers. the numbers say that his swing speed and his bat path are way off, and his timing is horrendous. This is a guy that, he starts with his hands really head high, and then he loads before being able to cork forward for a ball. And so that's a lot of interior movements before preparing for the ball. With two healthy shoulders, he's physically able to be strong enough to be able to do that. Even if he's a tick late, he can still muscle something out to left field. But with a shoulder that's either too tight because it was surgically repaired, or just physically not healthy, it's going to make you slower than you have been any other point. And so that's where it's on, it's a collaborative failure to that point. And again, he hopefully has started to come around. But to your point on just being physically ready, I don't think he was. I don't think that he's the only one to blame on that.
Right. And to go back to the point of it wasn't really him starting 0 for 19. That's the issue. Cassis was 1 for 18. Bregman was like 2 for 19 or whatever. That part was, he wasn't getting blown away by 98, 100 mile per hour fastballs. Like that, you understand, like sometimes the other guy, the pitcher stuff is just, I'll get in the box tomorrow. Yeah, too good. Like tip your cap, whatever. But he's getting blown away by 91, 92. Like, yeah, for guys like us, growing up, I was in Legion Ball and I saw 91s, and that was good enough for me. Like, no, thank you. Nope. Sit my ass down on 3 pitches. But for a professional hitter in the major leagues, 92.
Who's made a career off of eating fastballs.
Yeah. It's like, that should be 10 rows deep and right. They were in Baltimore the last 3 days. Should have been out on Utah Street. Should have been hitting one off the warehouse. Now I'm being a little exaggeration, but those are balls that deserve to be hit on piss missiles. And he was getting blown away by them. Yeah. And it goes back to the swing speed. And that's the concerning part. And that's what.
That it's bad when then really all of Boston media is talking about him breaking out of the slump because of 3 games ago, he hit a foul ball.
Yeah, it's like, do you want a cookie for getting a foul tick? All I could think of was Richie from the bench warmers. I ticked it. Yeah. You're still out and you're still fat.
Well, I mean, let's hope. No, let's hope that Raffy, turns this around. I think obviously it's still very, very early, and before Fink gets on our case, I'm acknowledging it's very, very early, and this is an overreaction. However, you can't have a horrendous season by starting great. You can have a horrendous season by starting horrendously. And so that's the trajectory that we're on right now. And then we're just calling it as it is. But who is on a very different trajectory is our another newly extended second baseman, Christian Campbell. Tell me a little bit about what it is like to watch Christian Campbell go out and do his thing at 22 years old and know that he's going to be around for the next decade.
Breath of fresh air is all I can honestly say. It's like by the end of the year, he can arguably be your best right-handed bat in that lineup. And that's no shot at Alex Bregman. But what this kid's doing, like we talked last week with Gordo that we were fully prepared for him to come out of the gates slow, like as most young guys do. He's done nothing but. Like, I know anyone who watches most of the baseball Twitter knows about this now because of the savage tweet MLB put out about Tony Maserati about his overreaction on opening day where he said Campbell wasn't ready for the big leagues. Which, to be fair, on opening day, he had a couple of swings in there that weren't the best. But I'm not going as far as Maz because this kid has hit at every level he's been at. He's adjusted at every level he's been at. And he's up to 2 home runs now? He had 2 doubles the other night. Playing good defense at second base where I thought he looked better. And hell, he almost made that diving catch in left field game 2 of the year. Like, this is a guy that continues to take the next steps as he's done since he's been here. I joked earlier on in the episode that he's going to hate his agent. I'm predicting now by the end of next year, he is definitely going to hate his agent. I don't know about the rest of the league. And to be honest with you, when I say I don't know about the rest of the league, I mean how the young guys are doing specifically. But just getting to watch this guy every night, it's going to be hard not to envision how this guy doesn't win Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of give you an update. So we're 7 games into the season. He started 6 of them at second base, 1 of them in left field, correct?
Mm-hmm.
In which he almost made a spectacular catch of the year type catch in Texas. But yeah, I mean, his first 7 games in the big leagues, he's hitting .417. Not too shabby. Tied for the team lead with 2 home runs. He's currently leading with 4 doubles. He's currently leading the team with 10 hits. I mean, and to your point, he's playing outstanding defense at second base. I mean, the guy, and I mean, this has been so like widely reported at this point that it's not anything new, but the fact that he calls his teammates his friends, like, just makes you want to root for this guy.
He didn't know you didn't have roommates in the big leagues.
Yeah. And you know, it's a guy that you want to root for, that certainly has bought into the Boston culture clearly by getting this done with a very team friendly deal. And this is a guy that you want around. To your point on the fact that he could be an outstanding right-handed hitter in this lineup for now and a very long time. Coming out of college at Georgia Tech, I mean, his big knock was that he had an unusual swing path. But looking at it again, this is just my own amateur eyes looking at it. He's a very arms heavy swinger. He doesn't incorporate his lower half a whole lot, but his hands are so fast and his bat path stays in the zone forever. I mean, he completely mistimed a pitch in Baltimore today and then took it for a home run to left field. I mean, it's incredible how much damage he can do with such a unique swing that a lot of people were talking about how, you know, Hunter Pence was a guy that had a very unorthodox swing that did a lot of damage at the major league level. And I don't know, just to me, it seems like a swing that you don't really have to worry about. He's not going to get embarrassed on too many pitches. That worst case scenario, he mistimes something and he shoots something the other way to right field, or it's a swing that he's not going to get uncomfy with, like we saw with Cassis last year, that he broke his own ribs swinging out of his shoes. Like, he just doesn't need to do that to generate the kind of damage that he's already proven to do. And it's shown that major league pitching is not too much for him. So why don't do you have the extension details?
I can pull them right up, but it was basically 8 years, 60 million, and then 2 club options for 19 and 20 that would keep him here through 2034. So basically, if those 2 options are picked up, it would equate to a 10-year, like $100 million contract, roughly 10 a year.
For a 30, he would then be a 32-year-old after playing a decade of Major League Baseball. I mean, how do you not get excited about that with the things that he's already doing?
Right. And I heard this comparison today as I had Felger and Maz on the drive home from work, which most people in Boston do. Like, we can get on them for how negative they can be, and they are. But I was kind of upset with myself that I didn't come up with this comparison before hearing it. And you mentioned it before with his swing path and his unorthodox swing. It's Matt put it like, it's kind of Jeter-esque, where Jeter was famous for being able to have that inside out swing and shoot a ball to right field and be able to still pull it for power. 7 games in, I'm not saying this guy's going to be the captain, 3,000 hits, 5 World Series, first ballot Hall of Famer by any means. I hope he is. We all do. But
100%.
In terms of being able to make a career with a swing like that, hell, I would be excited to watch him play 162 every year like that, at least for the next decade. Like, Jeter made a living out of taking the ball to right field. This kid can too.
Yeah, and that's not even to say, I think he certainly has, his hands are far fast enough to be able to utilize the Green Monster and play 81 games at Fenway. I mean, that's kind of what I was alluding to, is he has the swing path to be able to just pepper the wall in a way that with his body composition and his structure, like, you don't really have to worry about him getting like hurt on those legging out doubles with a ball off the wall. That I mean, Tristan Casas said it today in the post game interview that he had, that he already thinks Campbell's one of, if not the fastest guys on the team, and that's in high regards when you compare it to a guy like Duran, right, or Rafaela. I mean, they got some burner.
It's also in high regards when Casas was one of the ones who said he didn't want the kids coming up on opening day.
Absolutely. And he did. That's a great call out, because he said, he was like, yeah, I already consider myself a fan of Christian Campbell because he's played exceptional defense at second base next to me, and he's made me look good a couple of times already. The way that he turns double play just seems so effortless. And let's keep in mind, like, this guy was in high A ball last year at this time.
Yeah. Like, he skyrocketed through the ranks last year. Like, last year at this time, we were talking about a big 3 in terms of the prospects, but it was Anthony, Mayer, and Teal. No one thought Campbell. Yep. And then partway through the year, it's like, we might have to be talking about a big 4. And it might turn out that Campbell is the best one out of the 4.
Well,
like, I mean, Anthony's knocking at the door. Don't get me wrong. Anthony is going to be great. And that's not a shot at Anthony. That's praise at Campbell for how much he's exceeded expectations in the last year.
So that's actually a perfect segue, because I kind of wanted to move to the other guys of Roman Anthony and Marcelo Meyer starting in AAA. I mean, they've both hit at least 2 home runs each. They're both playing the good defense that you would expect out of both of them. Do you think, like, a simple 7 to 10 day IL stint for Trevor Story will spell the basically end of his everyday usage in Boston? Because Marcelo Meyer is ready.
Yes and no. Yes, I think if he goes on the 10-day, I almost said DL, but it's IL for the last few years. But if he goes on the injury list, yes, Mayer has a chance to take the reins and not let him go. Like, but also I think with Rafaela being that super utility guy and the ability to play the infield, I'm not so sure if Story goes down, it's going to be Anthony that gets the call up. And you move Duran to center and you move Rafaela in for shortstop. Like, maybe that's always an option too. But that's a good problem to have, where you have these options of who you want to call up to get into the mix. And we keep talking. Anthony is the number 1 ranked prospect in all of baseball. So he probably, in theory, should get the call up first. But if it is Story that goes down, you just have options to which way you want to pivot.
Well, and that's what we talked about with Gordo, right? The big difference between this year and years previous is depth. And that includes the guys in the minor leagues. And so that also includes the catching position, which is something else I wanted to highlight. Was Carlos Narvaez has played really, really good defense, with the exception of the catcher interference call in his first start. But, you know, that's not to say that, I mean, Connor Wong's not produced offensively so far this year, but I mean, defensively, which was his big knock last year, defensively, he is far, far improved. And I mean, even looking at the Crochet start last night, he stole a couple of pitches for Crochet. And so that's a guy that, you know, if you can get some of these guys to come around and then have a guy like Narvaez come off the bench, I mean, that makes this team just infinitely better by having that depth there.
Right, and that's what made those that 4-game losing streak so mind-numbingly irritating, is because the last 2 nights, or day and a half, I should say, because it was an afternoon game today. These last 2 games is how we all envisioned how this team was going to play. Like, you're going to get that ace-like start from Crochet, that on a cold night in April that you don't need that many runs to get a win. You're going to have all-out bash from the lineup and a good bullpen outing again. Like, the bullpen has been a strength so far. Even in Texas, when you were losing 3 in a row, it wasn't at the fault of the pitching. It was simply the hitting and the timely hitting, which I wasn't worried about the hitting at a team level. Was I worried about Devers? Am I still worried about Devers specifically? Yes. But as a team, the 1 for, what was it? 1 for 26 with runners in scoring position, whatever god awful number the exact number was, I wasn't concerned about in the long run, because water does eventually find its level. This team is too talented. The bats were going to get there. And you were seeing that today, where you were getting more extra base hits. You were hitting more for power. You had, was it 3 home runs today or 4? You had Bregman.
That's a good question.
Campbell, Cassis. I believe it was 3. There could have been another one in there, but those are the 3 I remember. Story had 1 last night. Like, that's the team we envisioned during the winter when they were putting this thing together, where the lineup was going to be much deeper. The bullpen was going to be a lot better. And Chapman in his first 2 outings has been good. We also know Chapman has the history of, you don't know what you're going to get when he comes out on the mound.
Very streaky.
I would prefer he doesn't have the 9th inning, but as of right now, that's where you're at. Whitlock looks like he's pitching like back in 2021, which is a great sign. Like, that's a fantastic weapon to have out of the bullpen. Like, different stuff and different makeup, I know, but if he can serve as that 2016 Andrew Miller role for Cleveland, where you bring him in where the game is actually on the line, even if it is the 6th or 7th inning, where 2, 3, 4 is coming up and you need your best reliever coming in, he can do it, and he can go multiple innings. And it just shortens the game, where if you have, when they come up, like a guy like Giolito, when he gets out of his rehab, or Bayo, where they can only go 4 or 5 innings, if you can patch it together with Whitlock and steal 2 or 3 innings, and you're not killing your bullpen as a whole, that's just, in terms of 162, you're going to need outings like that. And to have a guy that can do it consistently is an absolute strength.
And we might actually even have a couple when the team gets healthy and we re-enter, you know, Giolito into the rotation. We re-enter Bayo into the rotation, which kicks Fitz and Sean Newcomb out. And then we introduce a guy like Cutter Crawford into the rotation, or extended reliever role. I mean, you've got, again, it just comes back to options, and options seems to be the name of the game when it comes to providing that for Cora to be able to make the executive decision. But the other thing that's vastly improved so far this season is the defense. I mean, the defense, it's just not even comparable to the last couple of years. They're currently tied for 14th in the league in obviously 7 games, but they're averaging less than an error every 2 games. So not too shabby.
I don't know if they had an error today, because I was working. I try to tune in as much as I could, but I miss at bats here and there, miss innings here and there. So I don't know if they had an error today, but I believe the only error they had in Texas was they didn't. So I believe the only error they had was the catcher interference call, which,
correct,
in terms of infield, at least for the infield defense as a whole, like they're fielding the ball, they're throwing the ball, and that's the biggest thing other than throwing strikes in terms of when you're not at bat, how you can win or lose games. It's being able to throw strikes consistently and fielding and throwing. Those are the three basic fundamental things you need to do. And they're doing, and I don't even think they're really walking all that many people as a pitching staff as a whole. Like, it doesn't feel like most of these games are lasting 2 hours and 20 minutes, 2 hours and 30 minutes. Like, if they're walking people left and right, you're getting 3.5 hour games. And all these games have flown by. So now that the bats are starting to wake up and they can compound it with the great pitching.
As a staff, including bullpen, they are currently 27th in walks, which is a stat that you want to be 30th in. So they have 14 walks in 7 games.
Jesus. 2 walks a game, 2 walks per 9. Like, I'm not expecting that for 162 by any means. Like, that would be fantastic. But in this day and age where it's always those 3 true outcomes, it seems to be strikeout, walk, home run, with an analytics-driven organization, which I want to talk about that in a little bit. But if you can minimize one of those 3 things in your favor, that's going to go a long ass way in terms of wins and losses.
Yes. At the end of the day, it is ultimately a simple game, right? Score more runs than your opponent, play clean defense to be able to eliminate the runs. And it used to be pitch to weak contact, but now it's strike out the world. They have the ability to do both. They have the ability to field cleanly. This is a team that should be very, very competitive. And I think that maybe a month from now, we'll be looking back as their opening skid be kind of a good thing. That, glad they got that out of the way.
And you mentioned it. I know I quoted a baseball movie earlier with the Benchwarmers. I'm going to quote another one when you said it's a pretty simple game. You're down in North Carolina. You know, one of my favorite movies takes place in North Carolina. It's Bull Durham. You hit the ball, you catch the ball, you throw the ball. Those 3 things, you do those consistently, you're going to win a lot of games.
And when you say hit the ball, there was another team in the AL East that tended to do that a little bit differently so far this season. For those of our listeners that have not heard, there is a new technology on the market called the torpedo bat. So, Nick, I know you had some thoughts on this, so I'm just going to give the floor to you, and then I will give you my reaction.
Okay, so I'm going to play the Uno reverse card. I'm going to ask you a question. Do you have a problem with them? Do you think it's Bush League? Do you think it's wrong? Like that argument we've been hearing about. Do you have any issue? I don't either. Like, finally, the nerds actually made the games more exciting. Like, back when we were growing up, our athletes took anabolic steroids to make the ball go flying out. These guys are actually more pussies in using torpedo bats.
That's right.
like screw the torpedo bats, bring back the needles.
You know, and now my big issue with it initially was that it was the Yankees. I was like, that seems.
And I think that at least for Red Sox Twitter and Red Sox fans, I think that was the biggest issue. It wasn't what was happening; it was who was doing it.
Well, and the result, right? It was the result that this was the first time this was introduced, and then all of a sudden they hit 9 home runs for a franchise
and
record.
Three on the first 3 pitches of the game.
Right, which is like unheard of to begin with. And so you you marry the two, and it's just, I'm not going to say inherently wrong, but it's just little stinky, little smelly. It's like,
Well, I will say this. I will applaud the nerds of New York of coming up and figuring this out for their team, where the Red Sox nerds decide to kick a Hall of Famer out of spring training for opening his mouth in Jim Rice. So it's like, that's where I said I wanted to get into the analytics-driven franchise earlier, a few minutes ago, where Jim Rice gets kicked out of spring training by our nerds because he's telling an unnamed young Sox hitter in the cage to hit balls up the middle. Just worry about hitting line drives up the middle. And the guy comes over and says, stop talking to the players. We don't teach that shit. And then you proceed to go out in Texas and basically swing out of your ass as a team and can't make contact. And you have Jim Rice, and I applaud him for being this petty on the talk show, on the post-game show, being like, hey, yeah, maybe you should take my advice and hit the damn ball up the middle. And you have that, and you contrast that to what's happening in New York. Like, back when the Patriots were good, we saw the same thing. The Indianapolis Colts tried to change the rules on defense because they couldn't get around it. The Baltimore Ravens got pissed off that we found a loophole with the offensive linemen in the playoffs. It's like, as Patriots fans, we had no problem with our teams pushing the envelope like that and trying to find legal ways to take an advantage. Because let's face it, the torpedo bats are legal. Are they morally right, morally wrong? That's for someone else to decide. I've been on laying the steroid guys into the Hall of Fame, so my morals are shit. So I'm the last guy to preach about morals. But in terms of the legality of it, there's no question that what the Yankees are doing are fully within the rules. Now, that being said, now that it's caught wave the way it has, and you're going, Bregman's already been trying to bat out in batting practice in the cage. And you're going to see
other in the game yesterday. He used it in the game yesterday, and then he actually switched back to his original bat today before he went yard.
Okay. I did not know about that last night, but you're going to see guys. It's going to take the world, the league by storm in short order because of the success. And when those home run numbers are going to get inflated, the runs are going to get inflated, which is good for the game. Like, steroids brought fans back. People want to see the long ball. Me personally, I do love a good pitching duel, so it is what it is. But if you're going to be smacking home runs left and right, I don't need McGuire Sosa of 98. I don't need Bonds of 2001 jacking 73 of these things. But if you're going to get more excitement, more fans in the stands, I'm all for it. But it's going to get so popular one way where it is probably looking at, it's going to be banned within short. Probably by the end of the year, you're going to be looking at rule changes to it. Like, it is what it is. But for the here and now, like, do I wish it was any other team but the Yankees? Yes. Am I going to throw a stink because of it, because it's the Yankees? No. I just am mad at the Sox didn't think of it first.
Well, and that's just it too. And you know, you always want your team to be the one that comes up with the creative workarounds, we'll say, to give yourself a competitive advantage. One misconception about it, though, is that it's so it was an MIT MIT engineer that came up with the idea. His name's Lenny. Worked with the organization for a few years. However, he is not actually even a current member of the Yankees organization. He currently works for the Miami Marlins.
I was going to say, I thought it was the Cubs, but it was an NL team, but it is the Marlins.
So, yeah, he works with the Miami Marlins. This was something that he and Volpe started getting data on dating back like a year and a half ago, and then it started really ramping up last year. And so, you know, this was clearly something that was approved by the league beforehand, particularly given the amount of publicity that it got so soon. I don't necessarily know if I agree that it will be banned or outlawed. I agree with you that I do think it's good for the game because people like action, and we've been looking for a solution to increase action. And it just seems so simple of let's move the best part of the bat to the place that the player hits the ball at the most. Like that just seems too simple for it to be this big of a deal. But of course, it's baseball. There's a bunch of old heads that this is the way it's always been done, and this is the way it always will be done. Like I think we're seeing the other side of that. This is a new technology that's taking the league by storm. Something that I'm really interested to see with these torpedo bats is I haven't seen someone take a ball off the end of one of these bats yet. I imagine it like just explodes or something, and not even because it's nicknamed torpedo, but just the thinness of the bat at the end makes it seem like it would not be able to stand up to a Crochet 98-mile-an-hour sinker.
Or if you get jammed too.
Yeah,
which
it just throws the balance completely off. But we've been going for 55 minutes here. I do have a trivia question for you tonight, but is there anything else you want to get off your chest before we transition to trivia?
Other than I'm pissed off at Mother Nature because I was going to try to sneak down for a game or two this weekend, and it looks like it's going to downpour left and right for this first home series of the year. Other than that, they salvaged the start of the year where it could have gotten off the rails early. That Crochet nipped it in the butt. That extension, like we talked about earlier, well worth it, and that's what you wanted to do. And they're coming back home 3-4. Good vibes, even though you're below 500. The way the road trip ended, you had the 2 back-to-back wins. You got the 2 extensions. Season starts now. Like, build on it. Like, last thing you want to do is come back home and lose 2 out of 3. Like, take this momentum and run with it.
Yeah, particularly against the Cardinals, right? Cardinals have started off okay. They're 4-2. They have a +17 run differential, so they're certainly playing some pretty good baseball to start. But this isn't a team that we expect to make a whole lot of noise for the entire season. I say all that. The White Sox are currently leading the AL Central with a record of 2-4. So, all that to say, it's a 162 game season. That's way too early to be looking at those kinds of things. But so it's going to be a really important series in the sense of we talked about it on this pod of they need to take care of business at home. Fenway has not been a very good place for the Red Sox to play for the last couple of years, and it needs to be a place in which they take care of business. So that's all I'm looking to see to start the year here. As of course you just mentioned, the weather does not look like it's going to be too great for clean baseball, but you just need to go in, take care of business, and move on. Moving into trivia. And so this is a different segment than past, just because this is a different episode than past with just the 2 of us. But I'm going to just test your knowledge as kind of marrying the 2 between Walsh's Vault and my typical trivia segment. Now, I'm using this question because it's a team of destiny. It's a team that we very much, when we think back to you and I'm saying here, our first baseball memories, but really for Boston sports, it was really a first time being a Red Sox fan that you actually weren't having your heart broken. So this is going to look back to the 2004 season. How many games did the Red Sox lose?
Wrong,
oh, you're even wearing the hat. Look at that.
If I get this wrong, I'm going.
Did the Red Sox lose in the 2004 MLB playoffs?
In the playoffs? Okay, because I was going to say I can give you their regular season record too. They won 98 games, so do the math. Playoffs, they swept the Angels. And then they lost the 3 in a row to the Yankees, and then they swept the Cardinals, so they only lost 3.
Correct. Well done. Well done.
No, they went 98 and 64. Yankees went 101 and 61. They lost the East by 3 games.
You know, your recollection, your recollection truly just it never ceases to amaze me. But
I honestly thought you were going to ask me how many games they lost in the regular season. I was like, well, I know they won 98 games, so let me just do 162 minus 98.
So, closing thoughts time. We have a couple of minutes here of just closing out the show. How are you feeling? What are you looking forward to? Where's your head at?
I'm just looking forward to honestly seeing how this team keeps going forward. Like Abreu being the hero on opening day. You have Crochet doing what he needs to do as an ace when he needs to do it. You saw Bregman have his first real big game as a Sox today. Like, I want to see, and of course, this is Campbell, as we've talked about the bullpen. I'd like how there's someone different, it seems like, every single game that's stepping up in these wins. And it's like, that's the mark of a good team. Like, any given night, someone else can kill you in the box or on the mound. So that's what I want to see going forward. We get to see Buehler tomorrow in the home opener. He didn't have the best of starts in start one, so in terms of the here and now, I'm kind of excited to see how he does with the energy in front of the home crowd tomorrow. He's a big game pitcher. We know that. So a random April game early on against the Cardinals isn't a quote-unquote big game, but you're going to get that extra boost from the fans being opening day. So I want to see how he starts tomorrow, see if he has a bounce back from start 1 to start 2, kind of like Crochet did, because Crochet wasn't at his best on opening day in Texas, but he was at his best last night. So I'm not expecting 8 innings from Buehler, but I'm expecting to see another level tomorrow.
Yeah, I think the goal should be a quality start. That should be the
6
start.
innings, 3 runs.
That should be the goal going out every time. That puts you in position to win. I think for me, biggest thing is I'm just enjoying that the Red Sox are back nearly on a daily basis.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how you're on the upswing. Spring is sprung. I know here in North Carolina we are fully in pollen season. Anybody that's listening in the Southeast fully understands that, but it's terrible and disgusting. But spring is here, and it is a great time to be a Boston sports fan, and it is a great time to have a Boston sports podcast. So,
exactly.
Of course, that wraps this episode. Before you go, please like, subscribe, share with your friends. Follow us on all the socials at Boston Banner BP on Twitter /X, Boston Banner Blueprint on both Facebook and Instagram, and then Boston.banner.blue BLU on TikTok. And with that, my friends, peace.